Hi there guys, Ken here, your Thrifty Apprentice, and welcome back to the studio. In today's video, we are going to be having a DIY travel watercolor art journal and or sketchbook, whichever you want it to be, or both. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. First of all, let me say that the concept and the idea behind both the pages in the book binding for this are not an original idea of mine. They have been around for a very long time and passed from crafter and artist to crafter and artist. And I am just borrowing on that technique in order to present you guys with this little tutorial. So, with all of that said, I do believe that you can take a old technique and make it your own. So that's kind of what we're going to do, and it's going to help us use up some old supplies, and it's going to lead to something a little bit later on down the road for this channel. So be sure to stay tuned for future references to that. But so when I was looking around on YouTube, I found some videos on how to make these booklets, and I seemed to only run across videos where they were using either pattern paper or archival paper as the book cover binding for the little watercolor journals. And this is just my own little spin on that particular one, and I just tied that in a knot. You have to love me. So yeah, okay guys, I'm gonna take 2 seconds to get that untied and I'll be right back. Okay guys, sorry about that. I am back. A few technical difficulties, but I think that adds to the fun of the channel. I refuse to edit stuff like that out because I want you to see the little bloopers. So yeah, so now that we have that unknotted, as I was saying, a lot of the videos that I saw made the book binding covers from either pattern paper or archival paper. So that's what I did with this example. It's just a piece of Jane Davenport archival paper that I pulled out of the pack and embellished with a piece of washi tape and a piece of yarn, which I've used and inserted through the middle of the binding in order to just make a little tie that you can wrap around and tie into a bow to keep the journal closed. So it got me to thinking, how can I personalize this a little bit more? What if these were made from the book? Or what if the book binding, excuse me, was made from something that was actually done in watercolor? So that's kind of the direction that I took with this journal. So I made this one, and it has the pages inserted. As you can see, it's a flip through. It has about 30 pages in it. And the binding to hold it together, as well as the cover, is constructed just like we used to cover our books back in grade school. It's absolutely amazing. I thought it's a wonderful technique. So I decided to push a little bit further and do what I used to do with those covers and actually decorate them and paint them to add just a little bit more personality and personalization to the journals. So that's what we're going to do today. All right, so to start off, we'll talk about making the pages. Now, this book has about 30 pages in it, and they were constructed from a 9x12 piece of watercolor paper. Now, for all intents and purposes, this journal is going to be mine. So it is just made from Artist Loft 90-pound paper on the insert. And then we're going to talk about the cover in just a moment. But for the one that I'm making with you guys today, I'm actually going to be using a little bit better quality of paper. And I'm going to be using Canson XL 140-pound watercolor paper to make this particular travel journal. And it's just going to make the book a little bit thicker, definitely, because it's a heavier weight paper. And it's just going to be a better paper performance-wise for this journal. And I have my reasons for doing it this way. So you guys be sure to tune in to future videos for more references to that. So I've already pre-made, most of the book before the video started. And these are most of the pages that's going to be inserted. So I'm going to show you how I made these. So here I have a piece of Canson XL 140-pound 9x12 watercolor paper. And what I'm going to do is with the textured side up, or the front side of the paper up, I'm going to fold the paper in half. Now guys, if you use a bone folder, or if you have a bone folder, now would be a perfect time to grab it. I don't have one, and so I'm going to use the kitchen fork butter knife technique, and it's going to work just fine. So what you want to do is you want to fold the paper in half the long way, And keep in mind now, we have the top side up, or the textured side facing up, so it's being folded in at this point. And what I'm doing is trying to prevent putting my hands on that paper and transferring any dirt or anything. And we're just gonna get this folded in half the long way. And you wanna crease that down. And I'm just gonna grab my fork here. You guys forgive me, this may seem truly homemade, huh? But again, I don't have a bone folder. So now I'm gonna open that up, and then I'm gonna fold it the short way, or the wide way, or the opposite way of the way I just folded it. Again, the texture side is inside of what I'm handling, because I don't want to mark it up. We're just gonna give that a good fold. Okay, so now here's one of the few times I'm gonna actually handle the top side of the paper. I'm gonna reverse this, turning the top side out and lay it flat. Now what I wanna do is fold each side up. So I'm gonna fold this side up, and I hope I've been in frame and you guys been able to see what I'm doing. And I'm just gonna make sure those ends match. And then I'm gonna fold it down. And here I'm handling the back side of the paper, so I'm not worried about marking it up. I'm just gonna give that a good crease down on that side as well. And then I'm gonna do the reverse side. Again, handling it as quick as possible to not have too much contact with the textured side of the paper. All right, so we're just gonna get that crease down. And when you open it out, what you have are this accordion fold, or what you have is this accordion fold. And it's gonna give you 2, 4, 6, 8 pieces here. Now what we wanna do is we wanna cut straight down that center up to this top section, but we're not going to go through the top section, we're just cutting up to it. So I'm going to take a really quick break and head over to my cutter and cut that up, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, we are back. So I've cut up the center, and what you can see here, we have it divided here like this, and it's cut all the way up to that top section, but I didn't go through it. So now what you want to do is fold the back side, or the flat side, or the wrong side against itself. And then you're just gonna fold the flaps in, just like that. It made an accordion style. And those are gonna be the pages of the book. Now what you'll notice is that you have like this gap here, and we're gonna take care of that because we're gonna be using glue to bind the book together. So we have this one, and then I have the 3 that I made earlier. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to put these together right quick. So let me zoom out so you can see a little better. All right, and I'm gonna grab my glue. I'm using Aleene's Original Tacky Glue. You can use whatever adhesive you have. I like this particular one because it does lay down really flat and smoothly, and it's not gonna cause this paper to buckle. I mean, it didn't cause the 90-pound paper to buckle, so I know it's definitely not gonna cause the 140-pound. So what I wanna do is, I want to make sure that that side, that part that's opening that's still attached is up or down. It really doesn't matter because we're going to be gluing it completely shut. And I'm just going to take some glue here. And it looks like my glue tip clogged. Let's see if I can get that off there. All right. And then, yeah, there we go. We're just going to lightly put down a thin layer. I'm not making sure to go around the corners so that it will definitely seal up. Then a few strokes in the middle, and you can see how very little glue I'm actually using, and it's going to still bind the books together just fine. So now I'm just going to pick that up, and I'm going to make sure those sides are even. And because we're using a wet media and it's not like super glue, so it's not going to be quick, we can actually adjust them. I'm just making sure that the pages are straight. Then I'm going to fold that in. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these really quickly. So we're gonna just get this filled in. Again, I'm covering these slowly. And I mean, guys, this doesn't take long at all. You can whip one of these out in about 10 minutes once you actually know the steps. Maybe even less time than that. Just gonna set those to the side as I work. And I'm using, again, the Canson XL. You can actually make these out of whatever type of paper you want. I mean, if you want to use a more expensive paper, then go right ahead. I'm using the Canson XL because I wanted to make this size travel journal, excuse me. And the Canson XL was the only paper I had in 9x12. Well, the better grade of paper that I had in 9x12. All of my other grades, or higher grades, are in smaller sheets. So, all right. But with that said, we're actually going to be using one of those, and not necessarily a less inferior grade of paper either, to say the least. Now, you can actually use Canson to make the book binding if you would like to. That's completely on you. But I'm going to show you the idea I had. Wipe that extra glue up off my disc so nothing sticks together. And we're just going to... Okay, so now, I'm just going to make sure that the back flap of all of these is going the same way. Or the flap that connects together. It's going to be going the same way. And we are going to line all of these up. Yeah, that's right. And get this one right. All right. So now there's our book. There's the pages of our book anyway. See here? It's going to be really nice. And what's really cool about this is every 4 sections is going to fold out into a panoramic. So you can actually do a panoramic in 2, 3, 4 sheets. Every section, based on the way that because of the way it's going to be glued together, will fold out that way. So in that way, it truly serves as a travel journal sketchbook, and it's accordion. It's so cool. Shouts out to all of the crafters who have done this and perfected this. I think it is such a neat idea. So now that we have that, I'm just going to sit that to the side. Oh, guys, I almost forgot. We actually need to finish putting the pages together. We glued the middles together to put each single, but we need to put each into, bind them all together into one. So, again, we're going to do it just like we did when we glued the middles together. We're going to put down a, well, I guess it would help if I take the top off. Woe is me. We're just going to put down a thin layer of glue. I can't believe I almost forgot to do this. That's an important part, important step. I tell you, I've just been a mess lately. But we're just going to get that down. And I'm going to lift that to attach it to the next segment, just to make sure that they are even. And because they're wet, it's wet, it gives me just a little time to work. Those lined up there. And then I'll move on to the next one. And that's the general idea behind that. You guys don't need to see me do all of those. You put down the glue, you lift them, you make sure they're even, and you put all of the pages that you made together. Now we're going to move on to actually making the book binding itself. Now you can do this however you want to. You can use watercolors, you can use watercolor crayons, you can use watercolor markers, you can use paint sticks, you can use, did I say watercolor paints? Yes. You can actually use watercolor crayons for this if you would like to. Personally, I'm going to be using the technique that I use to do this one, which is a printing technique. Now, you guys know I do not have a jelly plate, so I am going to be bringing back the foam printing technique. So let me show you guys what I did here to create the binder. So I use Aim High's watercolor paper to create the binding. And let me explain why really quick. Number one, it's made of recycled paper. Now, if you guys remember back during the Aim High review video that I did, I told you that I liked the paints, especially at the price, but I wasn't a big fan of the watercolor paper. And at that particular point, I had a little experience with it. I did a couple of paintings, and even after that review, I tried just using it for watercolor pencils. And I did a couple of watercolor, just quick watercolor pencil sketches on it, just to see if I would like the way it performed, and or if I could reevaluate my thoughts on the way it performed. And you know, for all intents and purposes, it's an okay paper. Maybe not as bad as I thought it was originally to begin with. But what I loved about it is, especially for this project, it brought new life to it because it's made of recycled paper, and the paper reminds me a lot of what we used to cover our books in grade school with, especially if you got the book covers that the school gave you. Now, if you were like some of us and you used the brown paper bags from the grocery store, then it wasn't necessarily the same texture, but it's definitely in the same ballpark and the same ideal. So this paper is made of recycled materials, and it has a tone to it, which is going to make it excellent for this project. So I'm just going to pull a piece out, and lucky enough for me, it's A5 paper already, and it fit almost perfectly on the printing plate that I made. Now, this is a styrofoam printing plate that is made from the bottom of a meat package. I mean, I bought some meat and ate it and then thoroughly cleaned the packaging that it came in and cut the bottom of it out, and voila, I had a foam printing plate. We've discussed that in a card making tutorial that we did earlier back in the channel, and I think I'll try to find that and link it in the description if you want to go back and see exactly how to make those. But anyway, so I did this one with watercolor crayons, or I'm sorry, Jane Davenport color sticks, which are more like your gelatos, your gel sticks. And then right here on the clouds, if you pay attention, I actually did that with watercolor markers. And what I noticed after the printing is that the gel sticks gave me more of a distressed look, but the watercolor markers themselves gave me more of a flat watercolor look. So I decided that for this one that we're doing today, I'm only going to be using watercolor markers because I want more of that look than of the distressed look, more of that flat look. And to add to the fact that we're making this one from the Canson XL paper, as well as the recycled paper, which I have a newfound philosophy for and think is a lot better than I originally said. I'm going to put it up there really close to the same level as Canson at this point. I'm going to be using that, and I'm actually going to be using Winsor & Newton Professional 12 set of watercolor markers because I do want the artwork that I'm going to do on the front of this journal to last. Again, a small reference to things to come. So, stop jabbering, get the printing. So this is a really easy concept. And you know what? I think I need, yeah, okay, so this is a really easy concept. I've already washed down the plate, from the previous painting or the previous printing. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to open up these watercolor markers here, and I'm going to decide on what color I want. Now, let me show you guys. I didn't show you, I'm sorry. What I did previously was to pull out a sheet of that paper, and I took a 3-inch ruler and drew lines on either side of it, and then inside that 3-inch rim, I painted my I drew my landscape. I took that, laid it on top of the phone, and then sketched it in order to transfer it, and then, you know, indented it just a little bit more to make sure that my print plate was deep enough. So yeah, that's the basic concept behind it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to frankly start the color. And I did it in this 3-inch rim because I wanted to make sure that it landed in the middle of my book. But of course, you can make whichever design you want. You can, whatever you want to do, you can paint this. You don't even have to print it. You can paint whatever you want. Use gouache, use watercolor markers, crayons. Like I said before, you can use whatever water-based media that you would like to. So I'm just going to color this in really quick. And at this point, the video is probably going to speed up just to do the coloring part because, I mean, you guys have seen coloring before. And then we'll start the video back in real time as we finish constructing the travel journal. Okay, guys, we have completed the coloring on the printing panel. So now what you want to do is take some clean water, and I have some clean water in a cup here, and you want to take a sponge, and you're going to take the paper that you're printing on, and in our case it's the AIM High Arts paper, and you're going to dip your sponge in your water, and you're going to squeeze. Okay, now what you want to do is leave enough water in the sponge to just coat the surface of the paper. You're going to go in one direction, and then you're going to go in another. You don't want to saturate the paper. You don't want puddles. You just want to make sure that you're wetting it enough in order for the pigment to transfer. Now, what I'm going to do is, because you don't want to get this time to dry once you, can you guys see that sheen? So I'm going to move my panel down, and I'm going to center the paper up on the panel. See if I can move that the best I can. And we're just going to set that down. Now, when you get this down, what you want to do is try not to move it. You want to add enough pressure for it to transfer, but you don't want to move it, and you don't want to scrub it because it will make scrub marks on the front of the print. So I'm just going to use the palm of my hand and gently rub both sides of the paper. And now I'm going to just flip this over and lay the paper side flat down, and then I'm going to press. And I'm going to apply some pretty moderate pressure, and on this side I can rub a little bit more because I got that cushion there. Just giving it time to make sure it's down, and I'm going to go ahead and lift that up and see what we got. And there you have it. Upside down. Let's turn it back that way. And I think it's very neat. And it's still a little distressed, even with the watercolor markers, but the image is clear. You can see what's going on. I love the way it turned out. And we did it with the Lightfast Winsor & Newton watercolor markers, because those markers are pigment based and they are light fast, because we do want this to kind of stand up to the test of time without fading for the purposes I'm making it for. So we need to let that dry, and then we'll come back and finish constructing the book. All right, in completion here, you're going to need 3 things to finish up. That's an X-Acto knife, some washi tape, and a piece of fray-free yarn. I'm just going to take those page inserts we made and lay them in the middle of the book binding cover and fold up the ends, just like we used to wrap a book. I'm sure you guys remember. Then I'm going to fold those ends down really well. I'm going to take my pages and reinsert them in, pushing it back firmly, but being sure not to push too hard as to rip the paper, because I want to make sure that the book binding cover is firmly secure and holding all of the pages together. So I'm just going to measure how much width I need so that I can fold that in and fold it down to insert the pages in the book. And you'll see me do quite a bit of readjusting just to make sure that I get it perfect as I put this book together. Now, we're going to take that X-Acto knife, and I'm just going to slit a small slit right in the middle of the back of that binding. And now what you're going to see me do is take washi tape, because I'm going completely around the edges that I folded down. I want to make it look as professional as I possibly can. And like I said, I thought the washi tape would give it a little bit more pizzazz. This is a pretty unisexual project that I'm doing because wanted to keep it unisexual. And that washi tape says keep on growing, and I thought that it was a really artsy feel to add to a travel journal or sketchbook for an artist. And I'm just going to do the same thing to the very bottom of the book binding. And you're seeing me take that X-Acto knife and cut the ends of that tape so that it's not binding those flaps down completely, because we're going to have to stick the front and back cover of our pages into that little folded flap that we did excuse me, in order to make sure that the book stays together. Like I said, I'm pretty sure you guys remember what it's like to wrap a book back in grade school. And do forgive me if part of this is out of frame, but I was working trying to make sure that I got it as snug as I possibly can. And you'll see here, I'm just going to readjust just a little bit, just to make sure that I get that book in there and it doesn't just fall apart on us. So after I get everything fitted and snug pretty good here, making sure that it fits well, you're going to see me take the fray-free yarn and I'm just going to string it through the middle of that book binding, and I'm going to use a piece of Scotch tape just to adhere it down on the inside so it won't run off on me. Then I'm going to take another piece of washi tape, and what I'm doing is sealing up that hole. But it also added a little bit more decoration to the book. But the main purpose was to seal up the hole that fray-free yarn came through. Now here, I am just going to add glue to both the very front panel and the very back panel of the pages of the book. And then I'm going to snugly and securely fit those into those flaps that folded over in order to make the edge of the front and the back of the book binding. Now we're going to make sure that we press down and that is good and done. And now I'm going to take the same washi tape and run around the sides of the folded flaps that's holding in the front and the back of the pages. And again, just trying to keep it as professional as possible. Because I do want this to be really sturdy, really nice, and to last for quite a long time. I'm really hoping that it's going to be something that's enjoyable for somebody somewhere. Alright guys, so I'm just going to go ahead and get that wrapped on around. And that's pretty much it on constructing the book. That's pretty much how you put it together. If there's any questions, don't forget to leave them in the comments section, and I'll be sure to get back to answering those for you guys. All right, guys. So there you have it. Our little DIY travel watercolor art journals and or sketchbook. I'm probably going to be using them for both. So there's the one we made today. Let you see it again. I think it's really cute and beautiful. And this is going to be used in a upcoming situation soon. So you guys be sure to stay tuned for the details to that. I'll just show you the inside again, and it just flips. You got 30 pages there. And as I told you, those pages do open up to 4-page panoramics so that you can paint those type if you want. It does open accordion, excuse me, and it'll fall back into place every single time. So there you have it, guys. That little travel sketchbook. There's the other version I did, and this is the version of the backing that I did with archival paper. So I hope you guys like it. I hope you grab whatever leftover supplies you have in order to use them up to go ahead and get some of these made. They're great for throwing in any size travel bag so that you can paint on the go very conveniently. If you like what you saw in this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe so that you can keep up with other content like this that goes up on the channel. Who knows, you may actually like it. Use the comment section. I would love to talk to you guys, and don't forget to share. Sharing is caring, and it helps to grow the channel and the community. Remember, as I tell you at the end of every video, just keep painting.